where we see a challenge is our steel suppliers have a roadmap to get to carbon neutral by 2050 and beyond. OEMs are not really pushing us on this, surprisingly, from the automotive sector yet. Their roadmaps are actually saying 2050, with the exception of one of the German automakers that has a target for 2039. So when you look at that, Schaeffler has a target to be carbon neutral by 2040, but the steel mills and our OEM customers are 10 years later. So if you look at the picture I've got in the background, this is our sort of take on it. We want to be that green ship in front and pulling the industry with us, but that obviously gives us big challenges in terms of pricing and availability of materials. So one of the activities we've done to support this is we have partnered with a startup company in Sweden called H2 Green Steel, and we already have a contract in place for 2025 to purchase 100,000 metric tons a year of carbon green steel.
So what carbon green steel, how would you describe that? I mean, is it recycled or?
Yeah, so it's got some recycling in there, but I mean, when you look at a traditional steel furnace, it would be a blast furnace. And I would say 70% of the carbon emissions come from the blast furnace. So what we're using in the H2 steel is we're using hydrogen to basically support their furnace technology, and that's where they can reduce the carbon footprint.
Our cruise business straddle over a few different industries. We are a ship that moves, so we're in the maritime business, and that involves oil, air, fuel, and then we have been, like I said, we've been called many names, and then the pollution factor, the collateral damage to the sea itself, and then on the other side of the spectrum, because we move, we have 2,500 people on the ship at any one time, passengers alone. If you count the staff that supports it, it's about 4,000. So we've been this over tourism. It's another very interesting name for us, especially when we visit smaller islands. So people tend to focus on the very negative things that the cruise business bring onto certain things rather than what we have done. Now the cruise business, the industry has been around since the 18th century. Modern cruising starts about in 1960s. This is more than 50 years from now. Many things have changed, and the whole business is very regulated. The ship have to comply with a lot of regulations on the type of fuel that we use, that we emit less than 1% of sulfur onto the air. The whole world follows that now. 10 years ago, none of such things. So we're doing whatever we can, and we want to do more. That's number one. Number two, how we treat black water, grey water, white water, strictly regulated. And then a lot of recycling process, a lot of waste management. 81% of all the ships comply with it. There's some ships, the older ships will fade out. Remember the cruise ships lifespan can go up to 50 years. So some of them, as they fade out, this number will only go up to 90%. So a lot of compliance. When it comes to food, sustaining the green source, sustaining the purchase. We go to because carbon footprint is also important. Rather than having all the food flying in from all over the place, I said earlier, we make it a point to increase the ratio of purchasing from the land. And because the ship moved from Singapore to Penang, for example, so if you know that Penang is good for certain vegetables, certain fruits, we buy there. And then it's fresher, definitely, pricing-wise, that form of cost, the seasonality approach. And then we're using LNG, the ship itself, 16 to 20% of the world fleet. The newer ships are now going into LNG-powered machineries. And that will definitely be greener energy. The impact of the cruise industry on the environment collectively cannot be underestimated. But at the same time, collectively, we are very mindful of the fact that what we can do and what we have done.